What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. So it came to my attention last night that Drone Lockbird had rolled back into the metagame, and it snowballed into different conversations about X format dependent hand trap, or why, when should you buy, when should you sell. I'm gonna try to narrow this down in different directions and say my thoughts on this, but I did notice Drone Lockbird, as it has come into this format, is up in price for its highest rarity, the ultimate rare, and for all versions, you can actually see versus its market price of 80, it's like at 88, 89, quickly 90, while the other versions have been going up over time to the ultra rare, the second highest rarity. Remember, there's wonky ratios versus the EU and USA on this poll. It is almost $10 again. You see the super rare climbing as well. If we look at the actual prices here, we see that Near Mint Unlimited is back towards 7 for the super rares for English, and this card just comes and goes. I often state that this is more of a sign of an unhealthy format when Droll rolls in. It means that too much is going on, the deck can chain into itself over and over, and Droll needs to be a check and balance. That's usually not the greatest sign, but we are seeing a lot of diversity despite the engines that are going on in this format right now. But he's rolling in, he's coming in and being used. Now, onto the topic of when should you buy and when should you sell. There's two different types of people going in with this question. There's the competitive player who wants to just shiny out their deck, play with it, and when it rolls out of the format, I'm done with you, I don't want to play anymore. And then there's the person trying to flip this long term. They look at this as an investment. To the competitive player, you pretty much pick it up as soon as you see that it is being played and you might want it as an option, and you probably sell when you're done with it. But to the investor, there's different price points, and I want to bring up a really good example. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit recently was $90 and skipped, hopped, and jumped all the way up to 180 and has fallen down to a solid 140-ish right now. Why did it go up? The hype of the Numeron engine. How long did that last? It would probably see a lot more representation in real life right now for the budget engine that it is, so Ghost Ogre might see more side in real life, but we're stuck on online platforms and remote tools, and I feel like Ghost Ogre just isn't seeing as much play as it really would right now, so it's whittling back down. That's probably the time to sell and make your profit, but when you're playing, there is also a time versus money thing to consider. Now, one of the most interesting pieces here is DD Crow Starlight Rare. Starlight Rares are a relatively new market, and when you come to this card, it's been sitting pretty around 360. Some people think this will fall down to 300, and they're asking me if they should sell now. Others see it as a great long-term investment because Rise of the Duelist was shorted for its first edition, meaning the Starlights, they're definitely going to be decent over time compared to other Starlights, and this is one of the more generic ones, along with Triple Tactics Talents. But let me tell you, if you think it's gonna fall to 300, why would you sell now? Look at what these sellers are actually making when they sell. So they're selling it for $360. That's what they'll take cash in hand right now on TCG Player, except they're gonna be hit with fees. They're gonna get hit with a 10% fee around there from TCG Player, 3% by PayPal or credit card, and they're only making $13 above that 300. Oh wait, there's track shipping, and since it's a Starlight, you'll probably put insurance on it. Well then, yeah, that's not much more than you think it'll actually fall down to. Selling this in person, definitely the better route. You could be hooking your boy up at 330. Look, they're much more online, and you don't have to deal with those pesky fees. That's the more realistic way to go, but people on TCG Player, they're taking this kind of money on it right now. So if you think it will fall to 300, that's what some sellers are realistically getting in their pocket. You don't really want to be moving it then if you think it's going to go towards there. You could sell it in person at best, but you have the aspect that this could roll back into a format. It was as recently as Eldritch Adamantipator format where this really became a good choke point against other decks. There's kind of a parallel to this card, by the way, before we even get into its alternate version. Artifact Lancia is a format-dependent hand trap. If a lot of banishing is going on from the graveyard, we saw it definitely excel with against Orcus. The secret rares are sticking up pretty well in price. We see a couple of motivated sellers here, but it quickly on the front page goes to $5. This is one I would want in highest rarity in my arsenal if I'm a competitive player, and I just wouldn't be selling. It's not worth it at these lower prices to sell, and you have a cheap hollow alternative that's a penny stonk at just 50 cents from Dual Devastator, which is still sitting on shelves somewhere. Konami, you need to put RNG in your products past those field centers to sell sets. As much as Yu-Gi-Oh players don't want to admit it, they're a little bit of gamblers. So I would love to see a Dual Devastator that actually introduces like a bonus pack inside the Mayhaps with a chase card you could actually give us, since we didn't get too many of those within Dual Devastator. Solid product, but maybe add a gamble aspect. That would kind of be cool. I digress, though. Back to format-dependent hand traps. When it comes to Artifact, Lancey, and Crow, these two really thrive in certain places, but the highest rarities, they tend to stick around market price. It's not like they're dipping, people are running away from them. They slowly get eaten off the market. Look at the Ultimate Rare. It actually spiked hard as the Starlight got released, just like with Effect Veiler, which is also a format-dependent hand trap I don't have pulled up, but is becoming more of a staple lately, it feels like, in the metagame, along with Infinite Impermanence. Like, when we talk format-dependent, right now, Ash Blossom's not format-dependent, it feels like. Infinite Impermanence isn't necessarily format-dependent either. It's more like these cards that become text that revolve in and out of formats, and we see here Ultimate First Edition Crow lowest is towards 230, just 130 under the Starlight. It's because of the age and how many of these aren't near mint and how hard it is to get a first edition. It's really freaking up there. So you also have vying spots on some of these for max rarity being in two places, like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit here. It's towards 140 for its ultimate, but recently the secret rare spiked, and myself and others said I would run away from it at its higher price now. It's too format dependent. I would sell it because it's a mid rarity, not a max rarity. The ways you want to go, I feel like, with this are either your preferred version and still pay attention to the price, or go max rarity, dig in, and keep it until you feel like you've made your money's worth off of it. Like, and even then you could keep it and then some. You kind of wait for its format to roll in. Look at this. The Unlims are 55s. They were much higher just a bit ago. And the first editions are 65. They also were higher, like up in the 90s or something, bought out to that point a bit ago. And there's not too many first editions lining up motivated sellers you see, because it was just a bit more a little bit ago, and this could go back up depending on the format. Format-dependent hand traps are great investments that can spike. Droll was as low as 50 to 60 not too long ago. It kind of stabilized at 80, and now it's trekking up again. The question on when to sell really comes down to how much money did you want to make? How long do you want to ride this wave? How persistent do you think it will be in a format? And it comes down to calling that format and deciding, do I want to ride this wave again? Or do I want to hold on? Will I be able to buy back in cheaper? And it's going to vary from hand trap to hand trap, rarity to rarity. There's no solid answers. Market Man doesn't always have the answers for you, but things like Droll and Lockbird Ultimate Rare, Ghost, Ogre, and Snow Rabbit Ultimate Rare, they are pretty good long-term keeps depending on when you get into them. And at other points, you can see it going to the moon. It just keeps seeming to climb to you. That doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a place that it doesn't just halt and then start coming back down to reality, as we did see with Ghost, Ogre, and Snow Rabbit. And part of that was it revolving back out of the format. What do you guys think about format-dependent hand traps, though? I do want to look up Effect Veiler. I actually didn't have that one pulled up, and it's one that's in right now, has its Starlight Rare, and the Starlight Rare has been trekking upwards. You know, it was 500 sold, then 550. You now see the lowest listing here is around 600. It's having its time. It's trekking up. Only one here before it climbs. These are definitely good investments, but you've got to kind of sharpshoot. You kind of got to figure out when and where and what version and why am I buying. Wow, the people went after the platinum one. I did not see this buyout coming. I'm glad I looked this up last minute. So you can see almost all versions get targeted when something does roll back into a format, which is also why Droll is slow creeping right now. It might explode today. That's something that could happen, definitely, with people starting to eye it more right now, but it's an option. Right now, it's an option. It's not a must-have. It's not a so many decks are playing this. It's starting to be picked up by pros and other players. Whereas Veiler, when we look at Veiler, it's like something that has been played multi-format now and keeps seeing its ways into decks because, oh man, I stopped Halki Fibrex. That seemed pretty good. Oh man, I was able to have backup to my Infinite Impermanence. That was pretty good. Veiler ends up in that kind of range and has done so for a long time. What do you guys think, though? though, of all these different ones, they just come back. It seems like time and time again, they find their way into the game. It's not like they will always be useless, and I do think they're some of the best long-term investments in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but finding your way into the price point, like, would you be buying right now while it's already rising? If it goes to 100 and you bought at 87 after fees and shipping, you're not making money if it lines up at 100. It would have to go to 120, 130 for you to make money realistically. But if you're a player who wants it for this format, yes, now's the time to buy. As an investor, maybe not, unless you can project that it's going to go that extra mile. But if you are buying any format-dependent hand traps or cards at all on TCG Player, please use that TCG Player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying. There definitely is a huge discussion, and it's rolling, and there's no absolutes to it, so I get why people want advice. Just the best I can do. Consider the price point, consider the timing, and have your best with it. Just consider the version as well, I guess would be my third part here, because I think you either go max rarity or you go penny stonk personally.